South Africa, they announced that Putin will not be attending the BRICS summit next month in Johannesburg. The reason is obvious. It's because of the International Criminal Court arrest warrant. They issued an arrest warrant against Putin because they say that he's been trafficking or forcibly removing children from Ukraine to Russia. Now, I find this strange because the Russians say that this is to get them to safety, and more importantly, they never put out any arrest warrant against Blair or Bush, but they have time to issue one for Putin so quickly. I find that funny. But the reason that they decided this, South Africa and Russia, for Putin not to attend is because of the arrest warrant. And it's a very uncomfortable and it's a very embarrassing situation. There's no way around this. It's embarrassing and it's very bad. It doesn't look good. Now, Lavrov is going to go instead of Putin. Lavrov is the Russian foreign minister. And I'm sure he's just as capable as Putin. Putin will attend virtually as well. But it's not the same thing as having the head of state there, because the other heads of state are going to be there, right? From Brazil, Russia, Brazil, India, China, and South Africa, and Russia being the 5th BRICS member. And BRICS is very popular now. You've got 40 countries that want to join. 20 have applied formally. The other 20 have expressed interest informally. So, it's a difficult situation. And the reason that they reached this conclusion is because Russia understands that in South Africa, they have precedent for this kind of situation, and there's no way around it. In 2015, I was just talking about Sudan. The president back then was Omar Bashir. Okay, so he was also had a warrant out for his arrest issued by the ICC, and South Africa, being an ICC member, was obliged, to arrest him. He came to South Africa for the African Union summit. And South Africa didn't arrest him because, let me explain something to you. The ICC has a history of bias against African leaders. It's based in The Hague, and all it's ever really done is go after leaders from Yugoslavia and Africa. That's it. There is an inherent bias that it has, and African leaders understand this. So there was no willingness on the part of the South Africans to arrest him. They let him go. They actually helped him escape, kind of, right? So what happened is that internally, the Democratic Alliance, which is the opposition party to the ANC, they tried challenging the government in court, right? So they said that, South Africa is a signatory to the Rome Statute, and this has been ratified and brought into South African law, and you have to arrest the guy. You just have to, because we're a member of the ICC. And by the time this was all sorted, he was already, Bashir was long gone. But afterwards, South Africa said, screw you, we're actually going to leave the ICC. We pull out. And then Democratic Alliance, again, challenged this in court, and they were able to stop South Africa from pulling out of the ICC, because actually when South Africa threatened it, a bunch of other African countries did too, because of the reasons I outlined just a moment ago. And after this, it really became clear that if this ever happens again, that a head of state comes to South Africa and there's an ICC warrant out for their arrest, they really cannot get around it. They have to arrest the head of state, the guy. And because this is Putin we're talking about, and more importantly, the Russian head of state. I mean, the name is kind of irrelevant, but the fact that it's the Russian head of state makes this, you cannot contemplate this. So Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, has said many times, like, there is no way in hell we are going to arrest Vladimir Putin. We are not doing that. So they came to the conclusion, the Russians and South Africans, that it's just best to not come and have Lavrov go instead. Now, like I said, Putin will attend virtually, but it's not the same. It's embarrassing, and I think it outlines and it shows the ICC's shortcomings. Number one, this is an institution that is biased against African countries, because all it does is try African leaders. And then number two, it while being harsh against African leaders, it allows Western leaders who've done way worse things. It's not even comparable. I mean, it allows them to get off scot-free. There has never even been, any warrant for Tony Blair or George Bush's arrest. None. For nothing at all. And remember, there are multiple crimes, right? You have crimes against humanity, genocide, ethnic cleansing, the crime of aggression. So the way that actually they get around this in the United States, well, the United States never really signed on to the Rome Statute. Neither did the Russians, actually, right? And the reason that you're able to bring an arrest warrant out against Putin, despite the fact Russia isn't even an ICC member, is because the plaintiff, the one submitting the case, as long as they're a signatory of the Rome Statute, then it's enough. Okay. So in the case of Afghanistan, for example, if they go to the ICC with something against the United States, then the ICC have to look at it. They have to, but they won't. So when they started doing that, you remember what the United States did. The United States had such contempt and disdain for the International Criminal Court that they sanctioned the chief prosecutor and the head of the judiciary. Remember? I covered this. It's on the channel. Go watch. So Mike Pompeo made sure that they sanctioned them. They barred them from entering the United States and confiscated all their assets if they had any. Wow. So I find it really funny that Lindsey Graham, this neoconservative, impetulant swine, has the nerve to say that Russians or Vladimir Putin are going to face justice at the ICC. You're the first one in line, man. You're way ahead. Please. After you. Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is one of the most vile cockroaches that neocons have ever come up with. I mean, truly a cockroach of cockroaches. So he has no moral standing of any kind. Now, the other thing is that speaking of neocon cockroaches, George Bush actually in 2002 signed a law which is it's not called that officially, but it's nicknamed Hague Invasion Act because, as the name implies, if any American is brought to the International Criminal Court, the United States will invade the Netherlands and liberate that American and the Netherlands and give them democracy. Any American. It doesn't say like a head of state, because remember the ICC targets, or rather its mandate is directed at individuals, not countries. Which is why it was so funny when the ICC declared jurisdiction over Palestine that, the Israelis said, oh my God, you are anti-Semitic. You are targeting Israel. No, it's got nothing to do with Israel or Schmizrael or anything. It's about people, not countries. Again, Israel's not even a country, so. you get my point. So the Hague Invasion Act of 2002, it's not called that, but it's nicknamed that because it's very clear. The United States will invade this court and this country, all right? If any American is taken there, even a recruit or a corporal, whatever. So if you want to really talk about contempt for the ICC, I really can't think of a better example. I can't think of a better example. That there is no country on earth that has a law like this except the Americans. And the second best example of contempt for the ICC is probably in the UK. We don't have the crime of aggression ratified as a law. Because the UK signed it in 1998, okay, and ratified, as I said, crimes against humanity, genocide, ethnic cleansing. But then the crime of aggression, for some reason, it's like they knew something was coming, right? The war on terror was not made a crime at the ICC until a few years later, okay? So until George Bush took office. Like I said, it's as if they knew something was coming. And then, only then, was it incumbent upon the UK to ratify the crime of aggression, as a criminal offense in the UK. And this never happened. And so Tony Blair's argument when he was taken to court in the United Kingdom, and this went to the High Court where he appealed, It was regarding the crime of having invaded Iraq, which is a crime of aggression. Okay, when you invade a country, it's a crime of aggression. So when he was taken to court, his lawyers argued in the High Court that the United Kingdom did sign the Rome Statute and is a member of the ICC, but it never ratified the crime of aggression. So technically, it never made invading another country a crime. So Tony Blair did not break the law in England, and therefore he could not be punished for having invaded Iraq. I really hate this guy, but he has good lawyers. Now, but do you see how this works? When I showed you the most eloquent foreign minister of South Africa, when she was talking about this double standard of legal systems and international law, this is precisely to the point what she is referring to. This shit. Yes? This shit. How, they want Putin to be arrested by the ICC, but Bush can, or the United States can invade the Netherlands if any American is taken to the ICC, and Tony Blair, well, not a crime to invade countries in England. I think I made my point. Either way, this doesn't change the BRICS agenda. Make no mistake. The BRICS agenda is like a steam, an old-fashioned steam engine, and it's coming right at you. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's not a bad thing. It's just a new thing. Okay? The agenda keeps going, right? What do I mean? What do I mean by agenda? I mean shedding sanctions, Western hegemony and neocolonialism, having agreements that, don't involve screwing someone and stealing their resources. Maybe a new trade currency based on gold. This is not confirmed. It will be at one point in the future. It will materialize at one point in the future, but I don't think it will necessarily be announced next month. No one knows. We'll see. In any case, that agenda remains unchanged. And it's funny because the whole war in Ukraine was caused by NATO, provoked by NATO, even though they don't want to admit it. This is a fact. And the point is that they have shot themselves in the foot because all these sanctions they tried to put on Russia. How do you steal $300 billion and get away with it? You don't get away with it. This, you're living on borrowed time, or borrowed money, I should say, on stolen money. You can't steal $300 billion from Russia or any country and just get away with it. When people saw that, they were like, screw this shit. I'm running in the other direction, and I'm running 50 miles, not just a mile. No one is going to wait for the United States to, get mad at them one day and steal half of their foreign currency reserves. Are you out of your mind? Goodbye. Goodbye. This is, no, it's not happening again. I guess the Russians were naive. They were so naive. They really thought that the Americans wouldn't cross this line, and they crossed it. Should have never put that money. I don't know what to say. I'm not making fun of them or anything, but I'm shocked. Nothing has ever happened like this in history. I mean, of course, you've had countries plunder other countries. Yes, of course. But in one go like that, in one fell swoop, 300 billion. What is that even? My brain cannot even fathom or grasp what 300 billion is. How do you steal 300 billion? No.